we just look at a 20%, just a steady, consistent, growth, not showing off, not impressing anybody. Knowing kind of the framework of what a SMART goal is, I now want to show you how to take that framework and put it into a format that is something that you can follow, something that is achievable. So this is my 5-year plan for financial freedom, okay? Now, just take notes on the concepts. Do not try to recreate this on the page in front of you. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you an email where you can talk with one of my BDCs and they will send this to you in this very format. So all you have to do is just input one single number and it'll create the entire spreadsheet for you, okay? Now on a piece of paper in front of you, I want you to write down your right now current income. Now, if you are married, okay, and you and your spouse are planning to do this together, it's always best to focus on getting the spouse or the partner or the life partner who generates the lowest income to build this around them first. Because if we can get them out of their job so that they can be running the business and working the business full time while you continue to retain your higher income, it's going to be a lot easier to do this. So as we go through this example, I want you to put the income of the lowest earning person that's going to be a part of your real estate journey, okay? Now for this, I'm just going to use the number 55,000. Now what this number represents is what the average annual income is for somebody nationwide. Now yours might be lower, yours might be higher, but whatever it is, I want you to write that number down on the page in front of you right now, okay? So if you make 85 grand a year, write down 85 grand a year. But just know that as we go through this example, I'm going to use $55,000 as just a baseline so that you guys can understand the concept. Okay, so year number one is we're talking about goals. The goal that you need to set for your first year or the next 12 months, if that helps you visualize this, is to simply replace or recreate your job income. So you can see I make $55,000 at my job. So my first year in real estate goal is to generate an additional $55,000 in income. Like I said, your brain knows how to make 55 grand. It just doesn't know how to make 55 grand twice. So we're going to continue to make 55 grand at job while we build this other income stream called real estate, called wholetailing, called the $10,000 rehab, okay? We're going to tell brain to build another $55,000 in income through this new venture. And your brain goes, oh yeah, 55 grand, I get it, that's easy. Well, just let me do my thing, okay? So we get to the end of 12 months from right now and we look back. We got W-2 income from job of 55,000 and we have 1099 income, or we have gains of 55,000 from flipping, from wholesaling, from wholetailing, from retailing, from rental income, from brokered income. Wherever this other stream of income comes from, the goal is only 55 grand. That's it. And that's why, you guys, if you have a spouse or somebody who's maybe working part-time and you only need to make $24,000 a year to get them retired and get them out of that job, you can do this in a much shorter period of time because you don't have to make a lot of money. You know, it's unfortunate for those of you, I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, it's unfortunate for those of you that are making $500,000 a year at your job, because it's going to take you a lot longer to recreate that $500,000 in income, because you and your family have already grown accustomed to $500,000 a year in income. So instead of 12 months to pull that off, we may need to stretch it out to 24 months, however long it takes, simply because you got a much bigger amount that we have to replicate and reproduce, okay? So we get to the end of the 12 months. Now, in our second year of doing this business, we're still going to stay at our job. We're still going to make that $55,000 a year. But we're now going to tell our brain, hey brain, you made 110 grand last year. So in our real estate business, I want you to make $110,000 from flipping and wholesaling and wholetailing and all of those things. Now look at what happened in year one, right? We went from $55,000 in income annually and we made 110. Now look at what happens in year two. We made $55,000 from our job, but we made another $110,000 from flipping real estate, which means we've now made $165,000 in the ancillary income column. Now, the other thing that is critical, we do not spend the 55 grand we made in year one on anything. We don't pay off bills. We don't pay off credit cards. We don't go on a vacation. We don't buy a new car. We don't do any of that stuff, okay? That extra 55 grand goes into a bank account and it stays there. It can come out if it's going into another investment deal or if it's going to go out and make some more money. But for the most part, it needs to stay there untouched. And the same is true in year two. That 110 grand, we're not going to live on it. We're not going to spend it. We're not going to use it for paying anything off. So that at the end of year two, we've got $165,000 in cash. Now, I want you guys to write this down. As a client of my organization, I have two goals for you as my customer, okay? I have two goals for you as my customer. My first goal for you is I want you to have $250,000 in cash. That's my first goal for you, $250,000 in cash. Now, we're going to do it from creating this additional income stream, okay? Now, that $250,000 cash, once we get there, and you can, I've had clients that have produced a $250,000 return in 6 months. I've had others that have taken 6 years. But here's the goal. And it needs to be in cash, because the biggest, one of the challenges that I see from many clients over the years is they don't have enough cash. And cash is fuel for business. And you can't steal in slow motion. So when we find these really great deals, we got to have cash. Now, just today, I had one of my acquisition agents come into my office. He has found a deal. It's going to auction next Friday. It's a 2,200 square foot house on 4.5 acres in a really good part of town. Fixed up, it's worth about $500,000, $550,000. He's got it under contract right now for $175,000. $175,000. Normally we would order an inspection. Normally we would order a lot of things. I said, you know what? I just signed it. I said, close it next Friday. Because if we don't close it next Friday, it's going to go to auction. Now, if you don't have $250,000 in cash, how are you going to take advantage of a deal like that? Now, this deal, if I wholesale it, it makes $100,000. If we fix it and flip it, it makes almost $200,000 in profit. If I don't have this cash, how am I going to do that deal? Well, Lee, we could call you to do that deal. If you've never closed a loan with Coco Capital, there's no way you're getting a deal closed between now and next Friday. It's just not going to happen. So you might miss out on that opportunity because you don't have the cash. So that $250,000 is what makes goal number 2 possible. Here's goal number 2. I want you guys to have $1 million in investable assets, excluding equity in your primary residence. The greatest percentage right now of a person's net worth is tied up in the equity in their primary residence. When that's all the equity you have, you don't have any liquidity. You don't have the ability to invest, and you're not accredited because you can't use the equity in your primary residence to say, I'm accredited. And that is the goal. I want you to become an accredited investor. As an accredited investor, you can now participate in my high yield fund, which pays a 9% preferential rate of return, and then we split the surplus. Now, this fund has been in existence for over 11 years. It's been paying out double-digit returns for the last 11 years as a blended average. I was meeting with a registered investment advisor that has over $1 billion in assets under management. He came into my office just a few weeks ago and I showed him our fund performance and he went, "That is incredible, Lee. I've never seen anything like it," because it's just consistent double-digit rates of return. People love it. Unfortunately, if you're not an accredited investor, you don't get to play. And so you have to keep your money at Schwab where it's earning 4.5% if you're lucky. If you keep it in there for 10 years, you're getting a 7% blended rate, but you're going to be up, you're going to be down. And if you start taking money out on a down year, your principal is being reduced significantly and you may run out of money in retirement. That's not what we want. We want to live off of the interest that our investments produce without reducing our principal. Okay, so that's the goal. So that's why we got to get you to these two goals. And I'd like to get you there. I want you to get to goal number 1 at least in the next 24 months. That's relatively easy to do. And then you'll see how I'm going to get you to goal number 2 just by following this simple 5-year plan. Let's look at year number 3. Okay. In year number 3, which would be the 25th month, okay? So this is the beginning of year 3. This is where you, if you're the primary income earner for your household, 25 months is where you get to quit job and you get to become a full-time real estate investor. Now, your salary as a full-time real estate investor, you are going to get a raise. Congratulations. You are now the vice president of operations of a new development real estate investment opportunity, and you're making 65 grand a year. Now, again, if the number that you put in here is 100 grand, I told you guys, I'm going to send you the spreadsheet. You can contact one of my BDCs. I'll send you the spreadsheet. All you do is put in your current annual income and it'll spit out all of the numbers. So you know exactly what you need to do. Okay. So you're making 65 grand a year. Well, Lee, where's that coming from? Well, remember you guys, we took that $165,000 and we put it into a cash account. It's now being used to pay you a W-2 salary as an employee of your company. Well, Lee, why would I want to be an employee? Employees have to pay taxes. I'm aware of that. I'm an employee of Secured Investment Corp. I'm the chief visionary officer of this company, and I get a paycheck every other Friday, just like everyone else. And I participate in the company's 401k, and I have benefits for health insurance for my family. Well, Lee, why do you do all of that? Because banks like employees. And the cheapest money you can borrow is money from bank. And so there's a certain amount of income that we're going to take in W-2 wages from the businesses that we own as an employee. And there are other incomes we're going to allocate or obtain through 1099s through the other businesses that we own and control. Okay. But we need to continue to keep a consistent W-2 income so that we can borrow money to buy fix and flip when we want to start buying and holding rental properties. Okay. That's why we structure it this way. Now, if we were able to make $110,000 working a full-time job, running this side hustle, there's no reason why we can't double it in year 3 and make $220,000 in income as a full-time real estate investor, which means in year 3, we're going to produce $285,000 in income. Now we go to year 4. You're still a full-time real estate investor, but you did an amazing job last year. You doubled the profits of the business. You are to be applauded and rewarded. So we're going to give you a $15,000 raise. But our expectations of your output are going to grow. So if you did $220,000 last year, I need you to produce $440,000 in your business this year. Okay. Now this is year 4. Now notice, guys, we don't go nuts on our W-2 income. We don't dramatically change our lifestyle. We don't sell our house and buy a bigger one. We don't trade out of our car and buy a Bentley or a Porsche. We just continue to be conservative because we don't want to build wealth that we live on. We want to build principal that we can invest and live on the yield. Okay? That's what I'm trying to get you to, is living off of your yield, not off of your earned income through real estate investing. Year 5, we've generated $520,000. I'm sorry, year 4, we've produced $520,000. Now here's the 5th year. Here's where it gets really exciting. Year 5, you get another raise. Now you're making $95,000 a year, but I need you to outperform what you did last year. I need you to double it again. So this year you're going to do $880,000 in income, which means your 5th year, your efforts will produce $975,000 in revenue. Now, keep in mind, guys, I know that this might seem like a little pie in the sky because you're thinking out in 5 years and going, Lee, if I made $975,000 a year, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. Yeah, you would, because you didn't just suddenly get rich. You made $110,000 your first year. You made $165,000 your second year. You made $205,000 your third year. You made $520,000 your fourth year, and you made $975,000 your 5th year. Nobody goes from zero to rich overnight, again, unless it's lottery or it's inherited or something like that. Anybody who owns a business or has started a business, it just grows. Now, our goal as a company is merely to grow 20% every year. So a lot of companies say, we want to double revenue this year. Guys, it's a lot easier to double revenue annually when you're making a couple $100,000 a year. When you're making tens of millions of dollars a year, doubling every year becomes much more challenging. So we just look at a 20%, just a steady, consistent, growth, not showing off, not impressing anybody, but we don't want to wear out our teams and our infrastructure. So just a steady, consistent 20% growth. That's what we target every single year as an organization, and we have been for the last decade because it's just slow. Slow and steady wins the race. The turtle in the hare, turtle always wins. And this is what this does for you. Over the next 5 years, you'll make $350,000 in W-2 income. You'll make $1.7 million from your real estate dealings. So if you'll just follow my 60-month plan, at the end of it, you will make $2,055,000. And this is for you who started with a $55,000 a year income. But when you then blend it over the averages over the last 5 years, you have made $411,000 a year. Pretty cool, right?